Hello friends. So this video is going up just a little bit late. And I could get into all the reasons why, but basically they all boil down to, oh my god, my life, what is happening right now? Anyway, I just got a little bit distracted with stuff and had to deal with that stuff before I could think about editing and posting a video. Okay, so I'm going to be making a lot of weird noises while I speak. Also, you may note that the sound quality is not the best ever. The reason for that is that normally I go ahead and plug in my, it's not a professional mic, but you know, it's a slightly better microphone when I do these voiceovers. But I can't, because I can't reach my mic right now because my back has decided to become the source of all pain in my life. And yeah, anyway, I can't reach for the microphone because it sends screaming agony through my body. So anyway, we're just gonna use the built-in laptop mic, and hopefully that'll be okay. Should I talk about this drawing instead of my physical state and or the insanity of my life? Yes, I should. Okay, so last week I talked about Bran Weasels, and that's something that I've been struggling with, and I think a lot of us are struggling with. So that's not unique or special to me. It's just a thing that's going on in my life right now. The thing in my life that counteracts my Bran Weasels is my children. And I'm not a proponent for everybody should just have kids and that will fix everything in your life. Like, don't get me wrong. Kids are difficult and often cause Bran Weasels, not intentionally, but just because. And you know, it's not simple raising children. It should be something you only do if you really want to. So I just want to make it clear, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, it's the most wonderful magic in the world and it will make everything worthwhile once you have kids. Because that seems like a fairy tale. And also like people trying to trap you into procreating, which I'm opposed to, just to be clear. But for me, I grew up in a large family. Not just a biological family, but there were many adults and extended family members that were around during my life. And so I spent my entire life knowing that I wanted to have family, that I wanted to have kids. I was very interested in giving birth, but also adopted family, you know, the friends that you make family, your little people who are essentially your nieces and nephews, even though you share no blood relation to them. Like, I'm super into family, and that was always going to be a critical thing for me. So this year, and I guess now we're moving into the second year where everyone has been so isolated, has really driven home to me what delight my children bring into my life. Now, this is not to say that I don't ever consider feeding them to the wolves because, you know, they're kids. They drive me crazy sometimes. But generally speaking, my children are a delight in my life. They are unique, unexpected little individuals. My son is incredibly different from me, and he's constantly surprising me with who he is and the teenager he's growing to be. And my daughter is almost exactly like me, which only makes it funnier when she manages, ouch, don't laugh, which only makes it funnier when she manages to surprise me with her eternal nonsense, because I should know better, but yet somehow it catches me off guard every single time. I don't know what the long-term ramifications for children are going to be in this post-COVID life that we're all leading. I don't know what having a year where social activity was discouraged, and where we mostly all just stayed home with our families all the time is going to do for different people. I'm sure a lot of it will have to do with what their families are like. Do they have a family that they're close to and that they can relate to, and that they enjoy spending time with, or did they feel trapped in a family that misunderstood them and made them unhappy? And my heart really bleeds for anyone who has felt cooped up with a living situation in which they feel uncomfortable. But for me with my kids, we are all in all a pretty happy unit. I mean, we've had some rough times. They keep trying to turn their schedule nocturnal, and then they act like bears during the day when I have to wake them up. And my daughter and I went through a couple months where it felt like we were fighting every day over how much rest she was getting and how much of a jerk she was to me the next day. But just generally speaking, we've done really well with one another. And I think, given that my son is 13 and coming into the time period in his life when he's not, he wouldn't necessarily be clinging to me as much as normal or relying on me as much as normal. But not having that ability to branch out and start relying on friends or people outside the family sphere, he's continued to just really put a lot of trust in me, and I feel honored by that. I have 3 little brothers who are substantially younger than me, so I understand that it's a natural part of life to get to a point where your kids just rebel against everything and maybe don't trust you as much as they used to. So to have him choose to continue to offer me that trust in the face of everything has meant a lot to me, and it really makes me feel good inside that he thinks he can rely on me like that. My daughter, who should not be a teenager yet, but due to advanced maturity or whatever, has decided to become a teenager at the ripe age of 10, has been blossoming and growing into her own person, and she does not rely on me the way that her brother does, but she still loves me and bothers to include me in her life and in the important things that are happening with her, and I also feel really honored by that. I don't have any objection to my children growing more independent and not needing me the way that they once did. I think that's the natural course of things. But I'm honored that there are ways that they still really let me into their lives, and I just love that. And so this drawing is about something that happens relatively frequently in our house, where I have both of my babies, who will, let's be clear, always be my babies no matter how big they grow, come to give me big squishes and share their moments of the day, be they big or small, with me. And I have to say that as much as COVID has been terrible, this has been a silver lining so massive that it's like a silver layer, not even a lining. So if you've been paying attention while I've been rambling about motherhood, you probably saw that I did several sketch layers, and now I'm going in and did some color blocking, just to clearly delineate for my eye which limb or face or hair strand belonged to which character. It made it a lot easier to go back in and do the colors later. To have a base color of like, oh, this is Elliot, this is me, this is Charlotte. I want to make it clear that I do not block my children in pink and blue because of any accepted gender norms. Ages ago, I got a tattoo that represents us, and at the time, I checked in with my children and I said, what are your favorite colors? And Charlotte happened to say pink and Elliot happened to say blue, and my favorite color has always been purple, so that seemed like it went together really well as a color scheme. So I tend to use it when I'm color coding the kids, even though Charlotte's new favorite colors are like gray and black and rainbow. She's big into the rainbow. Elliot, being a child who's more set in his ways, has clung to blue, and I don't object to that. So anyway, my standard coloring process when I'm working in digital has been, up until this point, to make a really rigid line work layer and then make layers underneath that build up the colors, lock those layers to add the shading and highlights. But I tried something different this time. I went ahead and made several sketch layers, and every layer I refined the layer before, but I didn't completely erase it because I thought it added some dimension to the image that just the straight up solid line sketch layer did not. And that's something that I'm finding that I really enjoy doing with digital that I can't do as well with traditional, because in traditional I just keep sketching with a pencil, and the graphite really muddies up the colors that I lay on top, and that's not an issue when you're working in digital layers. I have gotten my hands on some Colorase, well, not brand name Colorase, but colored pencils that are erasable, and I understand that if you want to do a sketch layer and then color directly on top of it, and then only reinforce line art at the end in the places where you need it, that is a way to go. But I haven't tried it yet, so maybe I'll try it sometime in May. I do have plans to have all my videos in May relate to mermaids, for Mermay. So you guys will have to let me know what you think about that. I'm a little tired of pretty mermaids. So yeah, I've decided to go a horror route because that's just where my brain's at right now. Just brace yourselves, 4 weeks of horror mermaids. You heard it here first. But I digress. That is about the future. And right now we are talking about now. Anyway, I really enjoyed the effect of the sketch layers, which were not completely erased. It felt like it created a much more fluid drawing, and then I just threw a really simple background on it and called it done. So I hope you enjoyed my process, and I hope to see you again next week, where I will hopefully be in less pain and on fewer drugs. Bye! If you like my art, or the art of any artist here on YouTube, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does help. Thanks!